Okay, I know the whole point of the 6 days of THORGIWEEN are to give you 6 spooky comic book recommendations, but I think we've gone a little bit too spooky after yesterday's mind-melting recommendation of Mimetic, so let's shift gears. You see, Halloween isn't just about scaring the pants off of you and making you afraid of every dark corner in your apartment. Halloween is also about fun. It's about celebrating the superstitious in whatever way you choose, and for some of us, that takes the form of comedies. So today, I'm celebrating a book that only comes out once a year, but I look forward to it as much as I do pumpkin carving and candy corn. Yes, I'm the guy who likes candy corn. I'm talking about the annual Simpsons Treehouse of Horror comic. I grew up as a massive fan of The Simpsons, and their Treehouse of Horror specials were some of my favorite things about Halloween. But, as we'll all probably agree, the show is not at its best anymore. It's gotten better than it was a few years ago, I'll admit that, it's on the uprise again, but it's still not hitting those heights that it did back in its golden era. However, with this comic, every single year it never disappoints. It has that same sense of humor and wittiness that I loved about the show back in its prime, and it's not just the quality, it's the imagination. While I watch the show these days and think, yeah, maybe they've run out of ideas, this comic still puts out 3 short stories every single year that makes me think, why can't these guys be working on the show? I laugh more at this book in one issue than I laugh at an entire season of the show these days. Now, before I go into detail about the kind of stories that you can find in these books, let me just go ahead and apologize up front, because normally I like to show you some examples of what I'm talking about, but Bongo Comics, the owners of the Simpsons comic line, for some reason refuses to put any of these books up for purchase digitally, meaning A, I couldn't find any high quality scans of them, and B, if you want to check these books out, then you'll have to actually go to your local comic book store and hope that they still have a copy. And you better do it now, because these books every single year are in high demand. In fact, if you try and find it online, the latest issue is already selling for $7 on Amazon, because that's how quickly they sell out. Alright, so each year they put out a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror special with brand new stories, and a Simpsons Illustrated Halloween issue that reprints 3 random stories from the previous years. And most of these stories you'll find are parodies of classic films, TV series, or novels, but just because they're parodies doesn't mean that they're just lazily throwing The Simpsons into weird new settings. With each parody, they find the perfect way to blend what you love about the property or the world that they're spoofing with the characters from The Simpsons. You will get tons of jokes that big fans of what they're spoofing will appreciate, but if you're a Simpsons fan, these writers capture The Simpsons and the sense of humor of the series so well that you'll love it no matter what they're talking about. Like last year, they did a Gremlins spoof where tiny mutant Barts were attacking the Quickie Mart. That's a great place to set a spoof, as Apu is known for selling strange random items in his store, so it matches the mystery shop in Gremlins perfectly. Or this year, they did a parody of Ghostbusters, including several jokes about the Simpsons roster of dead characters, jokes at the expense of the Ghostbusters themselves and how crazy the concept of them are and how lacking many people found the sequel to be, and they even went to the lengths to spoof the Ghostbusters theme song, while all the while perfectly capturing each character from the series' history. It's stories like this that let me know that people writing this comic aren't just Simpsons fans, they're people who understand The Simpsons. They don't just look at the series and laugh at it, they look at it and realize why they laugh at it. They realize how to write Homer, they realize how to write Mr. Burns, they realize how to write the rest of the characters. And they're geeks who flat out love whatever it is that they're paying tribute to with these spoofs. And since this comic has more freedom than the show does, then they can do some really weird, far out there stuff. For example, this year, the Simpsons Illustrated book, they reprinted 2 classic stories that I never thought I'd see in a Simpsons comic. The first being a tale about Bart finding the Necronomicon and summoning Cthulhu, with some pretty dark moments and all captured in a very trippy art style. And the second story is a parody of Death Note. That's right, you heard me. These comics don't just send up mainstream films that everyone would know, they did a whole storyline parodying the popular Japanese manga and anime Death Note about a boy who finds a book that lets him kill anyone by writing their name down inside. And they didn't just give Bart the Death Note, no, they went to that extra link and made each character in the Simpsons world a caricature of someone from Death Note, including Lisa as Elle and Krusty as Ryuk. They even had the entire storyline drawn like a manga. I know it doesn't sound real, but they actually turned this into a story that both Simpsons fans and Death Note fans would enjoy, as they kept the sense of humor that I love about the series alive, but at the same time provided tons of jokes that Death Note fans would love. And I think that's what I love the most about these Halloween parodies. They don't just say a bunch of stuff that you'll recognize and then expect you to think that's funny, like some sitcoms I could name. No, you can really feel the passion these writers are putting into making these stories as clever as they can possibly be. So if you are a fan of The Simpsons, even if you haven't watched the show in years, but you need a dose of their annual Treehouse of Horror goodness, then the best thing that you can do is go to your local comic book store and pick up this issue. So go check them out and come back later this week. We still have 2 more spooky comic book recommendations, as well as some more scary game and movie suggestions later today. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. And if you want to support this channel, then share these videos around the web and give us a thumb up. Thanks for watching, everyone, and happy Halloween.